Ichiro Suzuki, breaking barriers and inspiring a generation of Asian baseball players. As Ichiro Suzuki becomes the first Asian player to be enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame, fans and athletes alike reflect on how his journey reshaped the landscape of baseball for generations of Asian players. The Seattle Mariners outfielder, who spent nearly 2 decades in the majors, was celebrated this weekend for breaking records and becoming a symbol of perseverance for countless Asian athletes worldwide. Yet for many, his induction isn't just a milestone. It's a reminder of the invisible barriers that once stood between Asian communities and the sport they revered. But here's where it gets controversial. While Suzuki's success was undeniably tied to his talent and hard work, critics argue that systemic disparities in access to opportunities in baseball, like early exposure to the game and cultural perceptions of Asian athletes, played a role in his rise. Some say his achievements are a product of luck, not just individual brilliance. Others, however, emphasize that his story is part of a broader narrative of resilience, where Asian players have fought to prove their worth in a sport historically dominated by white athletes. Suzuki's legacy is also deeply personal for many. For example, Steven Kwan, a 2-time All-Star and 3-time Gold Glove winner, shared how seeing a player like him, Japanese and Chinese descent, play with confidence at such a young age, inspired him to pursue his own path. "He looked like me," Kwan said, "and played like me. That gave me hope to believe I could succeed at the highest level." But even then, there were challenges. When Suzuki faked out a Giants pitcher in 2015, it wasn't just about trickery. It was a subtle commentary on how Asian athletes often had to navigate stereotypes while showcasing their skills. The debate extends to the Hall of Fame itself. While Suzuki's induction is widely seen as a triumph, some argue that the voting process, which relied on unanimous vote, overlooked the contributions of Asian players who faced discrimination. Others, like Corbin Carroll, a former Seattle Mariners outfielder, note that his early exposure to Suzuki's presence helped shape his own identity as an Asian American athlete. "I still remember the photo of Suzuki in his signature pose," Carroll said, "which became one of my earliest memories growing up." Suzuki's career also sparked conversations about the role of race in sports. When asked about his intentions, he clarified that he didn't set out to perform for Asians, but acknowledged that his success had a ripple effect on the entire Asian community. "Japan baseball would be judged on how I did," he stated, emphasizing that his performance mattered not only to his home country, but to the global community. Today, Suzuki continues to influence the game. As a special assistant to the Mariners chairman, he shares wisdom with younger players, ensuring the progress doesn't halt with his own career. Bryan Woo, the Mariners all-star pitcher, echoed this sentiment, noting that Suzuki's legacy is about more than individual achievement. It's about inspiring future generations to break barriers. Ultimately, Suzuki's induction is more than a personal victory. It's a testament to the power of perseverance and the quiet revolution that Asian athletes have driven in baseball. As Kwan noted, his place in the Hall of Fame is symbolic of a new era. One where one person can pave the way for a whole generation to believe they can play baseball. But as the conversation continues, the question remains, was Suzuki's success a product of individual grit, or did it reflect deeper systemic challenges that Asian athletes have long battled? Rethinking youth baseball. Insights from Hall of Famers. Imagine a world where the future of baseball is threatened by the very people who are supposed to be its guardians, the young players who are being pushed to their limits, resulting in a staggering number of injuries that could have been avoided. This is the harsh reality that Billy Wagner and CC Sabathia, 2 of the newest members of the Baseball Hall of Fame, are speaking out against. As they prepare to take their rightful places in Cooperstown, they are sounding the alarm about the dangers of overuse and the importance of rethinking the way we approach youth development in baseball. But here's where it gets controversial. What if the very system that is supposed to nurture and develop young talent is actually doing more harm than good? Sabathia, who will be inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside Wagner, Ichiro Suzuki, Dick Allen and Dave Parker, believes that the current system is broken. "I think some of these guys are coming into the game broken," he said. citing the insane number of Tommy John surgeries that are being performed on young players. That was something that my dad fought against for me for a long time. He recognized that my arm was special, and he never let anybody pitch me more than one time on a weekend. Sabathia's own son, Carter, is a 14-year-old baseball player who is already facing the pressures of the game. But Sabathia is determined to do things differently with his son, refusing to let him get caught up in the perfect game circuit that has become a breeding ground for overuse and injury. Instead, Carter will play for his local team in New Jersey, where he will be able to develop his skills without being pushed to the limit. Wagner, who coached high school baseball in Virginia for many years, sees the same problems that Sabathia is talking about. When they get to the major league level, they're running out of what we call runway, he said. And so they're injured because they've done all this massive training to get to that point to chase their dream. But it's not just the physical toll that is the problem. It's also the lack of joy that many young players are experiencing. At the lower levels, there needs to be more joy in what we're doing to grow the game, Wagner said. It's not a job. We don't need to take lessons every single day to make the perfect swing. The swing comes because you're out in the backyard, throwing up rocks and hitting them off a bat. You're playing sandlot baseball, you're playing wiffle ball. The issue of overuse and injury is just one part of a larger problem that is affecting the game of baseball. The rising cost of youth baseball is making it harder for lower-income families to participate, which is contributing to a decline in diversity at the major league level. According to a recent report, just 6.2% of players on opening day rosters were black, down from a peak of over 18% in the 1980s. Sabathia, who is one of the few black players to have achieved success at the highest level, is determined to do his part to help change this trend. I'm excited to be able to get up there and talk to Fergie about what it means, he said, referring to Fergie Jenkins, one of the few black players to have been elected to the Hall of Fame. But the one thing that keeps crossing my mind, though, is like, who's next? I feel like through the Players Alliance and some of the efforts that we're putting together for this next generation, I almost feel even more responsible now to be on guys about being that next black ace. As the game of baseball continues to evolve, it's clear that there are many challenges that need to be addressed. But with players like Sabathia and Wagner speaking out, there is hope for a brighter future. And this is the part that most people miss. The fact that the future of baseball is not just about the players on the field, but about the young people who are being developed to take their place. So what do you think? Are Sabathia and Wagner right to sound the alarm about the dangers of overuse and the importance of rethinking youth development in baseball? Or are they just being overly cautious? Let us know in the comments.